Your case is building, I think, through the course of the day. I think it's quite good. Oh, well, listen, are you all set to go? Lloyd, how are you looking, mate?
Good time?
Yep.
You good to go?
Yep.
All right, cool. Hey, listen, well, good morning, and can I just say thanks for coming out to what is an incredible backdrop to an amazing city here in Auckland for the announcement of how National will also continue to restore law and order in this great country of ours. Can I just acknowledge my colleagues that I have here today, Nicola Willis, our fantastic Deputy and Finance Spokesperson, Paul Goldsmith, our Justice Spokesperson, we have Mark Mitchell, our fantastic Police Spokesperson, and of course Mahesh Muralidharan, who's doing a fantastic job for us in Auckland Central. Now, as many of you know, crime has escalated in New Zealand over the last 6 years, and under a Labour government that frankly has been very soft on crime, that has left it until the election to all of a sudden start to talk about the real concerns that New Zealanders have. Labour frankly has had 6 years, and it's all too little too late. Because since 2017, violent crime is up over 33%, serious assaults have more than doubled, retail crime is up over 100%, we see gang membership over 70%, so there are now 9 gang members for every 10 police officers, and all of this year we've had essentially a ram raid happening twice a day. So we know, and here in Auckland City, it's even tougher. We've had retail crime up over 126%, we've got gang membership in this city up over 75%. And Aucklanders have also been experiencing and seeing some pretty shocking scenes, gang fights down in the middle of the city, gangs opening fire on each other between close members of the public, and we've seen lots of other instances of violence happening in places across New Zealand as well. Police have done their best, but frankly the Labour government's had one target in justice, and that has been a 30% reduction in the prison population. Of course, we'd want to see that if we saw a 30% reduction in crime, but that has not been the experience of New Zealanders. New Zealanders are not feeling safe in their own homes, in their own businesses or their communities. We see shopkeepers being terrorised, and we see small business owners worried about walking around in fear. This is not the New Zealand that we know. This is not what we have to accept in New Zealand, and collectively we all get to decide that this is enough, and that this is not acceptable to us. With that, we want to restore law and order, and I want Mark Mitchell to pass some more remarks about how we plan to do that. Mark?
Thanks, Leader. Yeah, look, it's been really clear. We've been all over the country for the last 18 months, and the main message that we've been getting back, whether it be dairy owners or retailers, whether it be members of communities, whether it be victims of crime, the message is that they really have a strong desire to see more police out on the beat and present in the community. The reality of it is we have a world-class police service. They have been buckling under the pressure of a 33% increase in violent crime, an over 500% increase in ram raids and aggravated robberies, a 41% increase in victimisations. So they actually need to be able to get back to basics, get focused on their core role. We're going to reinforce them with an additional 300 police officers over the next 4 years, and we're going to have a big focus on actually taking a back to basics approach rather than a policing by consent approach, which not only has confused the front line in terms of what they're trying to do, it's confused the public, and it's been very clear that under a soft on crime Labour government that has completely, totally failed us as a country.
I spoke to some security guards today, and they said that the majority of crime in Newmarket was people stealing food. So what are you doing to address the causes of crime?
Well, I mean, that's true. There's lots of petty theft going on. There's lots of shoplifting going on. And the sad thing about in New Zealand at the moment is that a lot of retailers now aren't actually reporting that crime because they don't have a high level of confidence that there'll be a police response to it. The reason why they're feeling like that is because police are off trying to prioritise violent crime, which we've had a 33% increase in. Of course, there's people out buying stealing food items. There's a cost of living crisis underway. Absolutely. There's inflation, interest rates. I've got young couples in my electorate now on 2 wages that are having to access food banks to try and put food on the table. This government has totally failed in terms of allowing people even the basic dignity of being able to actually buy their own food.
So do you have any policies specifically to address the root causes of crime, like poverty?
Yeah, I mean, we do. The first thing that we've got to do is we've got to reduce the cost of living, and that means us tackling the underlying causes of inflation that is actually making food and fuel and rent so expensive for New Zealanders up and down this country. Mark's right. 1 in 2 New Zealanders are now worried about money on a daily basis. 430,000 are behind on their debt. So their number one job is we have to fix and rebuild this economy so that we can actually reduce the cost of living for people, actually so that we can restore the law and order and actually make sure that we deliver better health and education. But also long term, we have to continue the work that we've talked about before, that Nicola will be leading around social investment and actually dealing with the underlying causes of poverty, and actually making sure we get targeted, powerful interventions to people so we actually help them step up and be able to live the life that they want to live. But today what we want to announce is that we need 300 more police. Actually, our expectation is in the hotspots and the crime hotspots to be highly visible in the cities and towns across New Zealand that we desperately need to see them in.
To Michael's point.
Sorry, Lloyd.
Come up with your costings, Mark.
Well, it's just an additional 300 police officers over 4 years, which takes us from a ratio of 480 to 470 to 1. So we think that that's important to supplement the front line a bit, but we think that the real gains for us is going to be able to free our frontline police officers to get back to their core role.
How many paid for
They're a 24/7. They're our only 24/7 social service, and they pick up a whole lot of jobs that actually they shouldn't be involved in. They should be focused on their role, and their role is responding to crime, preventing crime, being visible in the community, and being able to give the community a sense of safety. And that's why we've announced that. And just very quickly, if you look at Auckland Central, we have Mahesh here, who has been doing an outstanding work and actually advocating and dealing with this issue. This is our biggest city. People don't feel safe going out after 7 o'clock at night because of the levels of crime and disorder that we're currently experiencing. And we think that having a permanent beat presence in the city and a permanent police presence in the city will go a long way to, number one, starting to make people feel safer, and number two, starting to deal with that disorder and violence.
Would you like another crack at answering my question?
It comes out of future operating allowances. $124 million over 4 years out of future operating allowances.
That's
On
right.
Labour's fiscal plan, they've had it independently costed. Will you do the same, and when will you be releasing?
Yep, I'll let Nicola talk to our fiscal plan.
And just very quickly on that too, Lloyd, can I say on the costings is that we are confident that when we come into government and we open the books, is that we are going to redirect investment and spending where we think that it's being wasted at the moment.
Cops.
So absolutely. Well, I'm talking about the police budget. So I'm confident that you've had P&HQ that's grown massively over the last 6 years, while at the same time you've got frontline police officers that are struggling to get the numbers when they turn up to their shift every day to actually go out and respond. So we're going to be really dealing with that situation.
So Labor has had its fiscal plan independently costed. Will you do the same, and when will you release yours?
Yes, we've had our fiscal plan independently costed. We will be releasing it on Friday. There's 2 points that I want to make about Labor's fiscal plan. The first is, while they have had someone independently assess whether the numbers add up, they have not had their individual costings of their individual policies externally assessed. That's very important because already there are significant questions about whether they have undercosted some of those policies. The second point, and this is the most important, is Labor's fiscal plan is a fantasy. They have never delivered on the commitments they have made in their fiscal plans. If you go back to 2017, every single operating allowance they have set since then, they have blown, because they are a government that is addicted to spending, that will always find a reason and an excuse why they need to spend more and New Zealanders need to pay the price through higher tax. So we don't accept that their fiscal plan in any way reflects what the reality of a Labour to Party Māori Greens Party government would look like.
One of the things that they did commit to today was keeping the super age and the funding as is. Can you commit to that as well?
That will remain the case for our next term of government, but we will also lift the age from 2044. That is our policy. That gives everyone a long time to plan and get ready.
If there's another pandemic or a big natural disaster, will you borrow to fund that for the repairs?
Yes, and here's the critically important thing. That is why we need to pay down our debt faster.
Right.
Because if we don't, we won't have the resilience needed for the rainy days that do come along, whether it's an earthquake, a climatic event, global conflict. And we are really concerned that the government has blown debt from just over $5 billion 4 years ago to $73 billion today, and they're projecting it's going to hit $100 billion. Our fiscal plan will pay down debt faster.
You're obviously auditioning for the role of Finance Minister at the moment. Why would you do a better job?
Because National respects taxpayers' money, and fundamentally we believe that before we spend a dollar, we need to justify to you that we're getting more value out of it than you would in your household.
Nicola,
That is a fundamental belief for us, and we think that Labour have disrespected taxpayers' money. They've wasted it on things like the TVNZ, RNZ merger, plans for an income insurance scheme, farewell parties at government departments, contractors and consultants. And that big spending approach means taxpayers always end up worse off.
To be clear, will you stick to your operating allowance that you set for yourself over the forecast period in the fiscal plan?
Yes. And the reason you can believe me is because I stand in the footsteps of a succession of finance ministers who have been prudent, conservative and careful. If you look back on Bill English's record, actually he was extremely disciplined about the extra spending that he did, and yet in every budget he increased funding for health and education, and I will be the same.
So that's an ironclad guarantee.
Yes, we will be sticking to our operating allowances.
Labour is committed to about
Unless there's a disaster.
17.5% increase in health spending over a 4-year period. Will you match that?
Well, the Treasury have adopted a new practice of assessing what future capacity pressures in health will be, and you'll see that reflected in our fiscal plan.
But you know, is it similar to what Labour has there?
You'll see our fiscal plan on Friday, and I can assure you that we have allowed for considerable new funding in health to allow for the big cost pressures that are happening there. We want frontline services, our hospitals and our doctors, to have the funding they need to deliver.
Nicola, do you think New Zealanders trust you as Finance Minister?
Well, I think that they have every reason to trust the National Party, its track record of managing the books well, its track record of having lower tax and lower inflation, and I hope that I will be a Finance Minister that will re-earn that trust.
Do you think they trust you or Grant Robertson as Finance Minister?
Well, I have no reason to trust Grant Robertson. He's broken every spending commitment he has ever made, and I will be a Finance Minister of my word.
In Parliament you said that you would release your fiscal plan before voting opens today with overseas voting, and yet you've broken that promise. Why?
Well, early voting starts on Monday, and it was always my intention that we would release our fiscal plan ahead of that, and we will.
Does overseas voting not count?
Well, I was meaning early voting, which in New Zealand starts on Monday, and we will release our fiscal plan ahead of that. I'm keeping my commitment.
Mr.
Why
Luxon,
is
debate
it that,
tonight.
Sorry, why is it that it's taken longer than it usually would? Because usually pre-food comes and then the costings come. Why is it? Is it because of that independent scrutiny, or what's the reason?
Well, the independent scrutiny is important, but we've also inherited a set of government books that have been more heavily vandalised than any in our recent history. We've seen debt blow out to levels well beyond what Grant Robertson ever thought possible. I'll take you back to 2017. He said he didn't want debt to exceed 20%. By that measure, we're now over 40%. He said he didn't want spending to exceed 30%. By that measure, we're now 33%. He said that he wanted inflation to remain at 2%. It's at 6%. We have the worst current account deficit in the developed world. Our interest rates have hit new highs. So all of that means we are in an extremely fragile economic situation, and it makes it doubly important that National is careful, considered and truthful in our fiscal plan, because I don't think New Zealanders need another government that makes commitments that it breaks the minute it encounters office, and that's what Labour has consistently done.
Mr. Luxon, debate tonight. How's your prep going?
Oh, looking forward to it. Yeah, I think it will be fun. I mean, I enjoyed the last one, and this will be a different dynamic, I'm sure, but I'm excited about it. Looking forward to it.
Has your prep changed at all, given you've now done one with Mr. Hipkins? Does it change? Do you kind of tweak things?
No, not really. It's about me just making sure I can communicate our ideas about how to take this great country of ours forward. I mean, we have a fantastic country. We are in a power of pain at the moment, but we need to go to work and actually put a plan together. We have that plan. Rebuild the economy, restore law and order, deliver better health and education, and make sure that I'm communicating that as effectively as I can.
You were pretty combative in the first debate, leaping in kind of to interrupt Mr. Hipkins. Same approach?
Again, we'll just see how it goes tonight. Looking forward to
What's it like having a bus with a big face of you on it?
I think it's a beautiful face. I mean, my mum's got to like it, I think. I mean, at least mum will like it. I hope mum loves it.
Is it a bit weird?
No, that's the main thing. So, look, it's just great. I mean, it's just, as you can see, we have a fantastic set of supporters and volunteers who are out there and been out there actually all year. knocking on doors. I was just talking to Mahesh before. He's personally knocked on 8,000 doors in Auckland Central. And him and his team that he's enthused locally. Our people are excited and they understand what's at stake at this election. And that's my message, as it has been consistently to everyone I meet, which is that this is going to be a very, very close election. All MMP elections actually are. And it now comes down to the New Zealand people being very intentional, very purposeful with their party vote. And I want to demonstrate to them that I want to earn that party vote for us, for the National Party, so that we can actually get this country with strong, stable government who can deal with the challenges that we've got.
What's the point of a bus, kind of, what's the idea behind having a campaign bus going up and down the country?
Well, it's a great way to get around to many towns and cities across the country and be able to get our word out about what our proposition is, about how we can actually rebuild this economy so that we can get the public services that we all deserve, and that's the message.
Do you have a name yet?
No, we don't have a name. I'm sure Lloyd will come up with some new names, as he's probably prone to do. But what I'd say is this. Bluebell, we'll take Bluebell. We've had prudence for financial prudence and fiscal prudence, which is a big core value of the National Party, and certainly Nicola Willis and myself. So I'm sure there'll be many other names that will be generated over the course of the next few weeks, but we look forward to seeing them all. Yep.
If central government is on the hook for so many of these disaster-related costs, isn't there an argument for foregoing tax cuts and paying down debt even faster than what you guys are planning?
Well, we will strike a very careful balance. On the one hand, yes, we do need to pay debt down faster to ensure there are more buffers for the climatic events that may be ahead of us, disasters that may be ahead of us. But at the same time, New Zealanders are going through a prolonged cost of living crisis that has absolutely pummeled household finances. They've had to cope with record levels of inflation, high interest rates, all while being taxed more. We are determined to ensure that New Zealanders are better off under national, and our tax reduction plan will ensure they are.
And what kind of assumptions are you going to build in with this plan around the ETS revenues? I mean, do you see them declining, or...?
We will use the same ETS revenue forecasts as have been included in the pre-election fiscal update.
Will you think with the ETS, if petrol gets to $3.50 by Christmas, I mean, you're talking about the regional fuel tax, scrapping that, but will you tinker with the ETS to ensure Kiwis can afford fuel?
Well, here's a really important difference between us and Labour that perhaps has been skipped over in this campaign. We will not be increasing petrol taxes next term. Labour have committed to increasing petrol taxes by another 12 cents. That'll amount to more than $6 extra every time people fill up at the pump. We're not going to do that, and in part, the reason we're not going to do that is we are concerned about the increasing petrol prices. The other thing in terms of the ETS is that is why we are determined that the revenue raised by the emissions trading scheme is returned to New Zealanders in the form of income tax reduction, because whether it's a Labour government or a national government, we're expecting that the price of fossil fuels is going to increase as we fight climate change.
I'm slightly left of field question. On the New Zealand-EU free trade agreement, that was widely considered to be pretty average by a lot of people. Would you look to renegotiate that if you win government?
Look, it is what it is. We've now got to go make it work as best we can. There are huge opportunities for New Zealand in trade all around the world. When I look at the opportunities in Southeast Asia under the RCEP agreement, when I look at the potential that exists in India, the most populous country on earth, the third biggest economy by 2030, and to have seen two-way trade actually shrink to a paltry 2.3 billion under this government, that says to me there's a huge opportunity for us there as well. We need to make sure that we commercialise and take all the value that sits in the UK free trade agreement as well, and continue to actually have conversations all around the world. We want to have diversified trade. We are a small country that relies on international trade. We have 8 billion people in 195 countries out there in the world, and we want to go out there and hustle and sell great New Zealand products and services to everyone. So, I think that's quite exciting. There's lots of opportunity for New Zealand to do well in the world, and we live bang smack in the middle of the most dynamic region, the Asia Pacific region, and that's a good starting point for us.
Our poll last night showed that half of Kiwis don't think your tax plan stacks up. Does that mean it's dead in the water?
No, our tax plan stacks up. We have multiple sources of revenue, we have multiple sources of prioritised savings, and importantly, we've been very prudent, very responsible by making sure we have buffer within our tax plan. And as Nicola outlined, we also have buffer in our fiscal plan. So I am very confident that we will deliver, and most importantly, it is critical that we deliver a tax relief for low and middle income New Zealanders who are waking up each day, slogging their guts out, and still can't get ahead. And they actually deserve a break. And actually, the way that we've done a fully funded tax plan that can stand alone, separate from our fiscal plan, I think is very smart.
On the leaders' debate,
Sorry.
just with you last Do you mind stepping up?
Yeah,
the
well,
microphone?
yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
to be annoying.
Oh,
You go.
Oh, me,
With
sorry.
the-
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
With the Labour's plan for COPs last week, they announced 300 police, which were critical of. Why now announce 300?
No, we weren't critical of any announcement in terms of additional police. We've just been, let me be clear, we've been very critical of a soft on crime Labor government that for the last 6 years, through their policy settings, have made our country a lot less safe, a lot more dangerous, much tougher for our frontline police officers. That's what we're critical of. We are 100% behind our thin blue line, making sure that they actually get the help now that they need to get out and do the job that they want to do, because I can tell you that our police officers join the job because they have a passion to serve and protect their community. And they've felt like they've been doing that job for the last 3 or 4 years with one hand tied behind their back, and in many cases 2 hands tied behind their back.
Are your costings on this based on Labor's costings?
They're our costings, and we've said that we'd take it from the existing budget. We will. It's over 4 years. I think the one thing that we'll be much better at doing is identifying where there's wastage and getting that reprioritised and refocused on areas like the front line, where actually the public will see better services and a response when they put their hand up for help. They'll actually get some help.
So in those areas that you're going to gut, is that going to fund some of the stuff you've announced? Or
Well, we won't know. We won't know until we're in government and we can open the books and have a look. But we suspect that there's a fair bit of wastage going on.
So you don't
This
know,
government
you don't
is.
know how you're going to fund it? If you don't
No,
know
we've
where
said
the wastage
we've
is?
told you how we'll fund it. We'll fund it out of the existing budget. The money is there to fund it over the next 4 years, the $124 million that we need. What I'm saying to you, Lloyd, is that we have got a far greater focus on delivering services to the public, and that is where the focus will be. It won't be having kumbaya, working groups in PNHQ in Wellington. It's going to be actually having frontline staff out on the street, being able to respond to members of the public when they need help, and starting to reverse the awful damage that's been created to our country over the last 6 years.
And what you'll see in our fiscal plan on Friday, Lloyd, is that we have allocated new money to fund these officers.
Okay, everyone, can I say thanks so much? Get out of the wind. Go have a good rest of the day. Take